I'm literally like shaking. So I want to start this video off saying that, first of all, I don't condone my actions, and I have prayed to allow God to forgive me. So that's how I want to start this video off. And I'm a wreck because I just had the hugest realization ever. It is currently 2:35 in the morning, and I am filming this video because I feel that it is something that God called me to do. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to tell you guys about the time that God came to me. And some of you guys may not believe me. And the circumstances that the story was under is kind of why. Because whenever this happened, I was unbelievably high on drugs. Which I don't know how people are gonna think of me, but that's not the point. The point is not for people to see me differently. It doesn't matter anymore because I have realized that that's not the point. God has called me to do this, and this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna tell you guys my story. If you can relate, let me know in the comments down below. Okay. So, alright, we're just gonna get into the story. I've told pretty much everybody close to me in my life, so if you don't know me, my name's Rebecca. Nice to meet you. This is not how I usually look. Well, actually it is. Who am I kidding? But yeah, so this all started, and I'm not going to mention any names, or if the names I do mention, they're not going to be real, because that's just not right. Anyways, so, if you guys don't know, I graduated high school on May 30th of 2019. This happened months ago. It's October, and this happened in May. I was gonna wait to post this until I got my other videos uploaded from graduation and before graduation and everything. That's not gonna happen. This video is gonna go up as soon as I can get it up. I don't even have my computer. I have my camera, but it's not charged. This is iPhone quality, whatever. I just felt like I needed to do this. And Sadie Robinson, she's the OG. I literally clicked on this video where she was preaching on a whim, running with God, and she explained, I just want to go on this tangent real quick. I go on a lot of tangents. I'm bad at telling stories, but I just want to get this out of the way. So I clicked on this video on a whim. I don't care. I'm up. Let's watch it. And she said how God called on Moses to go, and he wasn't ready, and he thought that people wouldn't listen to him or wouldn't believe him, and that's exactly how I felt. And I didn't even finish watching the video after that because that's exactly how I felt. And God called me to do this video right after it happened, like right after I got back from Hawaii. I was in a great mindset. I was praying every day. I was reading the Bible every day, and I felt him call me to do this, and I just told him, God, you have to wait. I'm not ready. I have all these other videos to post. And he was like, no, Rebecca, you need to do it now. And I didn't listen, and here I am in the same position I was, except now it's almost 3 in the morning, and here here we go. I signed up for grad week, like, at the beginning of senior year, because that's when we had to sign up for it. And if you guys don't know what grad week is, it is this week-long trip right after you graduate high school, and you get to go with everybody at your school, and it is just supposed to be really fun and everything. So my friend and I am actually going to give her name Sarah with an H, because you know, Jimmy, whatever. Okay, so I want to say a few days before we were supposed to leave to LAX to hop on this plane to go to Hawaii. You can go all over the world. You can go to the Bahamas, Hawaii, Florida for grad week. And my school went to Hawaii. Well, let me grab my grad week shirt because I believe it's right here. Okay, I just felt like I should grab it for you guys. So this is what the grad week shirt looks like, as that little logo. And then these are all the locations on the back, so yeah. And we went to Hawaii, like I said. Okay, anyways, so that's that. A week before we were supposed to leave, this girl, Sarah, who I used to be close friends with, my sophomore and junior year, I believe, because she was in my friend group, she texted me and was like, hey, how are you getting to the airport? And I said, oh, I think my mom's gonna take me. She was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, yeah, what about you? And she was like, oh, I think my mom's gonna take me too, or I'm gonna drive. And I said, okay, cool. Like, I'll see you there, you know? And I didn't really think anything of it. Well, no, that's a lie. I had a feeling that she was gonna ask to come with me because I hadn't talked to her in so long. Like, I just felt like that's what she was getting towards, but she didn't say that at first. And then I think she texted me like the next day or the day after that, and she asked me the same question, like, are you still getting there that way? And this is all from memory. I haven't looked at the text or anything, so some of this might be a little off, but this is the best I'm able to do right now because I just have a feeling that I just need to do this right now. So, here I am. So, I think it was like the night before. I'm sorry. My voice is really shaky. Alright, so the night before we were supposed to leave, Sarah texted me and she said, hey, my car's having problems and my mom has something to do. I totally forgot. Would I be able to ride with you? And I asked my mom and she was like, yeah, that's totally fine. So I told her, like, yeah, my mom said it was fine, but we are leaving at 5 a.m. because my mom wanted to skip all the traffic. So, like, would you be able to spend the night? Because it'll be hard to wake up early, get everything ready, and then come get you. Because she lives further into town. So it would just make more sense for her to come to my house instead of us going to get her. Because she lives on the whole other side of town. And so she's like, yeah, sure, I'll have my mom drop me off. So I was like, cool, that's cool. At this point, we were supposed to leave at 5 a.m. the next morning, and it was like, I want to say it was like 7 p.m. the day before. And I hadn't even started packing yet. No lie, I hadn't started packing for a week. Like, oh my gosh, I know. Sounds very stupid. But anyways, so, she gets here and I'm like, yo, I haven't packed at all. She's like, oh my gosh, girl, like, you need to pack. And I was like, yeah. And so we went to Target because I wanted to get some shampoo bottles, which were actually for alcohol, which sounds really bad, but whatever. This whole story is gonna sound really bad, but oh well. I was told by multiple people not to post this actually, and now I feel that God has called me to do it. So here I am. So anyways, we went to Target and we got the bottles and everything. And then for some reason, I'm like, yo, we should go get edibles so we can take them on the plane. I'm literally shaking so much. Like, oh my gosh. And she goes, oh yeah, like my boyfriend lives over here, like I know a really good shop over here, like let's go. And I was like, okay, cool. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I'm literally just shaking so much. Okay, so she's like, yeah, so the shop is over here. And I'm like, well, we have to go home first because I have to do this and this and that, and then we can go. She's like, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm back. My phone ran out of storage because of all the videos that I still have on it, because I haven't posted anything, because life's been crazy. But anyways, back to the story. So we went to Target, got the bottles, and then we came back. We did a little bit more packing, whatever. Well, I packed more. She was already packed. And then we left again and we went to this weed shop that's literally 5 minutes from my house or something crazy, like close. And we pull up and I was scared like poopless, because Sarah is 17 and I am 18, and you have to be 18 to get into the shop. And I had my ID and I think she had hers, but she was like, I've been in here multiple times, like it's fine, we won't get caught up, like whatever. And I was like, if you're not going in, I'm not going in. So we need to find a different way because I think like they're not gonna let you in. And she's like, okay, let me text my boyfriend. He lives right around the corner. We'll go and we'll get him and he'll get it for us. And I was like, cool. So we did that. We went and got him. He literally lived right around the corner. And we got him. We came back and he went in and he got what we asked for, which was edibles. And he got him some weed and then we came back. For some reason, I had the brightest idea to just try all of the edibles. So I already had some edibles from a while back, and so I had some chocolate and some blue raspberry sour strips, and he bought us some multi-flavored sour strips, some gummy bears, and some gummy worms. And by this point, I hadn't really smoked a lot or got high a lot. It wasn't something I really did regularly. It was just something I did when I was with friends. And I did it to go to sleep sometimes, but I stopped. But that's not the point. So I said, let's try them, because she was like smelling them, making sure like she thought they would get through TSA and they wouldn't catch us, whatever. So I was like, okay, let's try them, see how much they taste like weed, whatever. And so I had so much, like so much. I had one of the multicolored sour strips, I had probably 3 or 4 gummy worms, 3 or 4 gummy bears, I had a piece of chocolate, and I have a video of us like taking the chocolate together. And like, I was like, yeah, let's do this, we're gonna have so much fun, like whatever. I had no idea what was coming. And so we took them, and then I kept packing. And I decided to FaceTime one of my really good friends, and so he would be there because she was falling asleep at this point. She was out. And so I was like, I have to have somebody to talk to or else I'm gonna lose my crap. And so I was talking to my friend and I was packing and everything, and then we probably talked on the phone for like 2 hours, and he was like, hey, I'm really tired, like I need to go to bed. And I said, okay, give me 1 second because I can't stay up alone, like I can't do it. I'm literally, no, it's not gonna happen. And I remember in this phone call I was thinking stuff and I was like, can you hear my thoughts? I was already that high after 30 minutes of consuming these edibles, and it went all downhill from there. So I told him, okay, give me a second. So I told myself, hey, you need to put everything you're gonna take tomorrow on this suitcase right now, because in the morning you will not take anything else. everything on here is what you're gonna take, so do it now. And so I threw everything I thought I needed, not including these like 4 shirts that were in my closet that I was gonna spray with water because they were wrinkly, because I forgot about them. So anyways, that's not, whatever. So I threw everything on there, and then he was like, okay, I'm going to sleep. And I said, okay, I'm going to sleep. And I got in bed. And then I closed my eyes, and this is gonna sound crazy, because I mean it is, but we're not even to the part of the story yet that I need to be, but this is the background I feel like you need. So I went to bed, or I closed my eyes, and I started to like see this image of this either bowl or cup or plate that I used to use when I was a little kid. And it either had like Dora on it or something. And I just remember it from my childhood. And it was like, I believe it was a bowl or a plate or a cup. I don't remember. And it was it was moving and making sounds. This sounds so weird. Oh my god. Like I had lifted up one side of it and it was circling around trying to find gravity again, if that makes sense. Let me grab a bowl and try to show you what I mean. Okay, so it was like that. That's what it was like. And with every sound that I heard, the image of that started crinkling and morphing itself into like a ball. That sounds so weird, but that's what happened. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm telling you, I heard a paper fall to the floor from my nightstand, and the image just kind of started crinkling more. And I heard stuff on my mom's TV, who was in the next room, and it was morphing this paper or whatever, this image in my mind. And I started like asking myself questions. This is so anyways, yeah, so I started asking myself questions in my head. And I was asking all these questions, and I kept forgetting what was the response to yes and what was the response answering no. And I had decided that whenever my body was responding yes, my body would shake up and down. Like I would blink my eyes a lot, or like I would just start shivering up and down. That sounds so weird, but that's what I thought was like a yes answer. And a no answer was my body would shake the other way. And so it would shake side to side. And so I started asking myself all these questions. I literally forgot what some of the questions were at first, but I kept forgetting what was yes and what was no. So I decided to do this as yes, which I'm pretty sure means no in sign language. So it's like the opposite of what I was doing, but whatever. So I did this. So whenever the answer was yes to something, I did this instead of trying to figure out which one was yes and which one was no, because I kept forgetting. And so I decided to ask myself, am I gonna die? I don't know why, I just did. And it was like, yep, you're gonna die. I was like, that's great. When am I gonna die? And I was like, wait, they can't answer that, because it's only yes and no. And so I was like, okay, will I die on a plane? And it was like, yep. I was like, cool, I love that for me. And then I had a vision of me being the only person in a plane and like looking around and the plane just taking a nosedive. And I was like, what? You're kidding, right? Like, that's not gonna happen. Or is it? I don't know. you know? So I was freaking out at this point because I was asking all these questions and it was getting me more anxious. And then I heard my mom wake up. And at this point, my dad was out of town. And so I heard her talking with my dad on the phone. And I heard her get up and walk into the kitchen, put something in the sink or something like that, and then come back down the hallway and come into my room, checked on us, and went back into her room. And I have always, since I was a little girl, been a daddy's girl. And I didn't remember the last time I talked to my dad. And I was like, if I'm gonna die, I need to tell my dad that I love him. Oh my gosh. And so I immediately got up. I took the covers off and I walked into my mother's room. And I said, Dad, I love you. I'm gonna die, but I love you. And my mom started freaking out, like freaking out. And my dad was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, Dad, I don't know, but I love you and I'm gonna die, but I love you. And my mom was like, I have to go, like, I love you, I have to go, bye. So she hangs up the phone and she's like, Becca, what's wrong? Like, what did you take? Because she knew. And I was like, Mom, like, don't worry about it, but I think I had fentanyl in it. Like, I'm dying. I need to go to the hospital now. And before I even told her that I need to go to the hospital, I knew that I was never going to make it to the hospital. And I didn't know why I wasn't, but I knew before I even said that I wasn't going to make it to the hospital. And at that point in time, I didn't know what that meant. But I didn't know if I was going to die before I made it there or if we just weren't going to go. I didn't know. So I kept telling her, yo, I need to go. Like, you need to take me right now. And she's like, okay, first you have to get what you took. And I said, okay. So I ran into my room and Sarah had put all the edibles in the bottom of her backpack. So I grabbed them and I took them to my mom. And she was like, Rebecca, you didn't. Like, why would you do this? Because my brother is a drug addict, and she has told me my entire life to never do drugs, never take them, never do them, nothing. And I was like, Mom, you were right. Like, I took these drugs and I am gonna die and I'm stupid and I'm sorry, but this was all supposed to happen for a reason. Because I stood back and I saw the whole picture, and it was like I had seen it before. I had seen it before, and everything to that point in my life was supposed to happen the way it happened, no matter how much I liked it or how much I didn't. Everything happened the way it was supposed to. And that's the feeling I had at that moment. And she was like, oh my God, Rebecca, like, I can't believe you did this. Like, I've told you all your life, like, not to do this. And here you are. And I was like, Mom, I know, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna die. You have to take me to the hospital now. And she's like, okay, fine. So she got up and I just remember her, like, bawling. And just, like, I was telling her, Mom, I need to go to the doctor. I need to go to the doctor. Take me to the hospital. I need to go now. And she's like, okay, tell me where you got these. And I was like, we got them at the weed shop, like, down the street. Like, I need to go to the doctor. Like, take me. Like, and she kept asking, like, all these questions. And I didn't realize this at the time, but there couldn't have been fentanyl in them unless they repackaged them or something, because I remember Sarah opening these packages in the car. Like, she ripped the bag open, you know? So, like, it wouldn't have made sense unless all the edibles had fentanyl in them at that store, because it couldn't have been added to them after the fact. I don't know how I thought that fentanyl got in there, but I did. So anyways, I kept telling her, I need to go to the hospital, like right now. Like, I'm going to die. Take me to the hospital. After that, what I remember is my brother waking up. And this isn't the brother who had been a drug addict for the majority of my life, but this is my other brother. And he actually lived in this room when this all happened. There are circumstances to why I'm in this room right now, but doesn't matter. So he woke up, and he is one of the smartest people I know. No lie, he is genuinely so freaking smart. Like, I can't. And so he woke up and he was like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Like, all this stuff. And Mom showed him what I took, and he was like, oh my gosh, Rebecca, you're tripping. And I remember just like him getting in my face and telling me, like, calm down. You are tripping. Calm down. And I just remember freaking out even more. So I sat on the floor in our hallway, bawling. I remember telling him, you're so smart. Like, why aren't you understanding me? Like, I need you to take me to the doctor. And he wouldn't take me. And I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, what don't you understand? And I kept telling my mom, and they just wouldn't listen to me, and I didn't know why. And I was sitting there, and I had my Apple Watch on, and I looked at my heart rate, and it was like in the 100s or something, and I was literally sitting on the floor. And I told my brother, I was like, look at my heart rate. I'm sitting on the floor. My heart rate should not be this high. And he goes, yeah, when you get high, your heart rate elevates. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But at the time, it didn't make sense because I was high. And I was like, no, like, you're lying to me. This doesn't happen. Like, I need to go to the doctor. And he kept, like, telling me, no. And I didn't know this at the time, but he kept going into my mom's room and telling her, like, yo, you need to calm down because Becca is getting really anxious and it's making her heart rate spike, and it's not good for her, so we just need to be calm as we can. And so that happened, and I was just sitting on the floor, and I remember looking into my room, and Sarah was on the bed still, like, knocked out. And I was like, if I'm right and these edibles have fentanyl, like, you need to wake her up now because she might not wake up. And so he went in there, like, woke her up, and she woke up. She was perfectly fine. Like, and my mom was like, oh, so you probably do this a lot. And she was like, yeah. And my mom was like, don't ever let my daughter do this again. And she didn't know at the time, but this was my idea. So after that all happened, I went into my mom's room. I remember all the parts of the story, but I don't remember in the order they all happened. So I'm just gonna say them in the order that I think they happened. But all of these things happened. Like, so I went back into my mom's room, and she was sitting on her bed. And when I walked in there, it looked like the bed was floating. It looked like it was floating. And she said, I'm your doctor. Like, sit down, I'm your doctor. And I was like, I asked myself, like, is she my doctor? And I was like, yeah, she's my doctor. Okay, fine, I'll sit there. So I sat on her bed, and she was telling me about this time, about, I'm not gonna say who, but somebody she knows had gotten really high before and thought that there were people in his backyard, and he literally called the cops and had the cops come to his house to get these people who were in his backyard, which weren't even in his backyard, and all this stuff. So she told me about that, and I was like, no way, like, that wouldn't happen, like all this stuff. She was like, yeah, like it happened. Then I just remember like drinking water because my brother and my mom kept telling me to drink water. And then I laid there. And I remember I checked my heart rate again, and it was higher than it was the previous time. I don't exactly remember what it was, but it was in the high 100s. And I was like, Mom, like, I'm laying in your bed and my heart rate is this high. Like, this is not right. Like, you need to take me to the doctor now. And so I just remember laying there, and I think I started to seize, like have a seizure. But my mom or brother doesn't remember that happening, but I have a feeling that's what happened. And I remember the water that I drank started to like bubble in my mouth, like create bubbles, or my mouth started to create bubbles, but like large bubbles, and it was making it to where I couldn't breathe. And I remember just having a feeling of something or somebody taking over my body. And I remember just asking God, like, to be there with me and just to allow me to have a second chance. And I remember, like, God, please don't let me die right now. Like, don't let this be the last time I ever talk to anybody. And I remember, like, saying something, but it was like an out-of-body experience. And so I remember saying something, I don't know what I said, and then remember coming back into my body and saying, that wasn't me. And my mom was like, what? And I was like, that wasn't me. Like, I don't know who that was or what that was, but I did not say whatever I just said. I was like, what did I say? And she's like, I don't know. And so I was like, that wasn't me. And so she started freaking out again, and she called one of the nurses that I guess like works at the hospital, and so the nurse needed to ask me a few questions. And so I got on the phone with the nurse, and I remember how I felt just God just surrounding me. And I remember just like thinking like, okay, this phone call is recorded, so I need to make it to where they know my knowledge, but they also know that God's here. God is with me. Like, I need them to know that. So I remember her asking me like my date of birth, and she asked me like what day it was, and I told her, I looked at my watch and I said the date, and then I said, and Donald Trump's the president, and I'm not too happy about that, but he's better than Hillary. And I remember thinking like, oh, my mom's gonna be so mad at me for saying that. But I remember saying that, and then I just allowed God to talk and say whatever he needed to say. And then the lady told me to give the phone back to my mom, so I did, and then I didn't hear another word about it. My mom didn't tell me this at the time, but the lady told her to take me to the doctor right now. Like, I needed to go to the doctor, and my mom didn't take me. And I think it's because my brother said not to, because we weren't going to make our flight, because at this point it was already like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. So with everything, check-in process, everything like that, we wouldn't have been able to make it to the airport on time, because we were supposed to leave at 5. And I don't remember telling my mom what my heart rate was again after that, but I told her, and my heart rate was 208 beats per minute. And my heart rate had never been that high, because I even went back and checked my heart rate the past months that I had at my Apple Watch, and my heart rate had never reached that. No matter the workouts that I was doing, because I was doing HIIT workouts at this gym every morning for a while before that, and even like the workouts at the gym that I was doing, nothing spiked my heart rate that high. And I was laying on my mother's bed, sitting still, just laying there. And I remember just asking God to just allow me to live. I kept thinking, and like, I kept telling him, sorry, like, I know I messed up, but like, please don't let me die right now. Please don't let that happen to me, because that would be the worst thing ever. Like, overdosing on edibles, which you can't even really overdose on weed. But at the time I thought it was laced with fentanyl, so I thought I was dying because of that. But like, I just kept asking God, like, please. And God was there with me through it all. And I remember talking with my brother and telling him, you are literally the smartest person I know. And I don't understand why you are not taking me to the hospital right now, because I need to go to the hospital. And he wouldn't take me. And I said, I realized that, like, you don't like me, but I know you love me. I know you don't like the inside, like, because at this point I thought that God had taken over my body. And I knew that my brother didn't truly believe in God, which I don't know if he wants that on the internet, but that's what I knew. And so I told him, I know you don't love me, but I know you love me. I know you love me. So why aren't you doing this? Because I'm going to die and you're not helping me. And he just was like, he kept telling me, you're tripping. Like, stop. Like, you're tripping. You're tripping balls. Like, stop. And so I was like, fine. I went back to talking to my mom. And I just remember, like, because I know that she and God have a good relationship. At least I think so. And so I told her, like, I know, like, that you love me. So I need you to do this for me. Like, I need you to take me to the doctor. I'm going to die. And then I think after that, my brother came into the room and he goes, okay, how are you going to die? Tell me how you're going to die. And I said, I don't know. Because I think these edibles are laced with fentanyl. But I also think that I might die on the plane going to Hawaii or coming back from Hawaii. And he was like, okay, well, what's going to happen is we're going to start heading to the airport now. So get all your stuff together because we need to leave. Because at this point I think it was like 5 or a little past 5 or whatever. And we'll go to the doctor. And I remember being so relieved. And so I literally put everything that was on top of my suitcase into my suitcase, zipped it up, and walked out the door. I took my suitcase out there, and I took my backpack out there, and I wore whatever I was wearing. And before we left, I needed to have another piece of the story so people would believe me. I did take a little short video on my mom's iPad when I was flipping out in her room. Hi. There's Mama. There's Travis.
What are you doing?
We don't record videos about this stuff. Give me it.
You're a retard.
Hey, just leave it, please.
Leave what?
The video. Leave it, please.
Okay, shut it off.
Okay. But I didn't say anything because both my brother and my mom were like, what are you doing? Like, you don't record stuff during this, like during being high or whatever. And I was like, okay, fine. So I stopped the video and I was like, but don't delete that because you're never gonna see me again. Like, I'm gonna die. And so I remember going out front and we have a security camera, and I remember getting on my knees in front of the security camera and grabbing the earth and saying, I love this earth. Like, God created such a beautiful thing. And I remember just yelling at the top of my lungs at 5 in the morning. And I remember Sarah being next to the car and just laughing at me. Then we got in the car and we left. And my mom was switching through the radios trying to find something that would make me calm down. And I used to despise listening to worship music. She would turn it on in the car and I would tell her to turn it off. And she flipped through the station and I heard worship music and I said, stop. Like, don't change it. Leave it there. And I remember just singing the words of the song because I grew up in church. I grew up going to church every Sunday, going to church on Wednesday nights even, and just, I knew that song, and I started singing it, and my mom and brother were so surprised. They're like, oh my gosh, what? And then I just fell asleep. And then I woke up and we were at the airport. And then I flew to Hawaii. And on the plane to Hawaii, I guess a few people had noticed that I was acting weird because I was trying not to fall asleep, but I was so tired because I was exhausted about the episode that I just had. And I don't know if that's the right word, the episode, everything that had just happened, because that had taken so much energy. My heart was beating so fast the entire time. And I also was trying not to fall asleep because almost everybody next to me, like, we were in the back of the plane and everybody there was from my school. And I know that sometimes I snore when I go to sleep, and I was trying not to snore. And so I would doze off and then I would wake up. And I would wake up all of a sudden and look around, and then I would doze off again, and I would do the same thing because I was trying not to snore, but I was also trying to get some sleep. And I guess a few people noticed, and they asked one of my really good friends, like, yo, what's wrong with her? Like, something's up. And she just was like, oh, she's tired. And then I remember making it to Hawaii, and then everything was fine with the plane. And I wasn't able to sit next to my friend at the time. And so I was freaking out whenever we were on that plane. But I was also so out of it that I didn't even care. And then the plane ride back, I made sure to sit next to my friend because I was like, we have to sit next to each other or else I'm going to freak out because I thought something was going to happen. But I also knew that God was with me. And so I sat next to her and I held her hand during takeoff, and then we landed at LAX, and here I am months later telling this story that God wanted me to tell you as soon as I got back from Hawaii. So here I am on my iPhone telling you what God has done in my life so far. And how God has come to me. And I honestly wasn't ready to post this video. And I watched that video. I believe it was titled Running with God from Sadie, and I couldn't wait any longer because I knew that this was the time. And so here I am in my purest form, and yeah, so that's my story. Since then, I did get high again, and I had an even worse experience, and it was honestly terrible, and I haven't got high since that time, and I don't plan on it either, so yeah. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I know this was a very long story. I'm going to try to edit a little bit of it, but everything is in there, so I'm pretty sure everything's in there. Everything that I wanted to say. But yeah, so God does work miracles, and I truly believe that I was supposed to die that night. But I didn't, and that is a miracle. So I know some of you guys might be like, oh, you're crazy, you were just high, but that's not the case. It's not. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's not. God was there, and God, as I like to say, worked his magic. But yeah, so that is it for this video. I don't know what videos are to come for you guys. I know I haven't posted in forever, but I'll probably do an update video here pretty soon. I don't even know if I'm going to post my graduation videos or the videos leading up to graduation anymore. I might. Who knows? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story, or got something out of it. There's a reason why God wants me to make this for you guys, so here it is. Bye, guys.